As that 7-year-old girl, I was in shock. I
Hmm.
felt lost. I felt like someone pulled the rug out of my life.
But I cannot imagine how it must have felt like. There's just so much that happened to you in a short span of time.
I remember this is when I started to learn the art of performing.
This is Dirty Brown. I'm your host, Kriti J, with the jhadu in hand, ready to stir things up. What do you do when life repeatedly tells you that you don't deserve to be here? This was not a metaphor for today's guest, but a reality since she was a little child. She is the woman behind Reignite with Reet, a space where healing and empowerment are not just concepts, but embodied truths. But we're not here today to talk about that Reet. We are here to talk about the Reet who, at every crossroads, chose herself when everything around her was telling her she shouldn't, and when nobody expected her to. Welcome to Dirty Brown, Reed.
Thank you so much, Kriti, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Your story is deeply moving and inspiring. I wanted to start with your life before you moved to Canada or before you were brought to Canada. What do you remember about your life in India, and what did home feel like?
So I was born in Punjab, India, a little town called Moga, arranged marriage parents, but my father left when I was maybe about 6 months old to come to Canada. So predominantly for the first part of my life, I was raised by my mom and aunts, uncles, grandparents, a community. That's how it's done in India. I really didn't feel anything was missing. I had that childhood where I remember, protected as a girl. Your mom doesn't want you to get hurt or scarred so you don't get ugly. You don't want to get too dark because nobody's going to marry you. So
Right.
those cultural norms as an Indian that everybody can relate to. But other than that, like I was loved. My mom loved my brother and I very much. We lived with our uncle who in exchange for like living there because my mom was now at this point a single mom because my dad had left to come to Canada. In exchange for staying at their house, my mom would cook, clean, and do that. And we were very close to this uncle and aunt, and they treated us like lovely. And they had older children. And they were
Mhm.
both business people in India and they had well careers. So they needed the help from my mom, and my mom needed their help. It worked beautifully, and my older cousins would just spoil my brother and I because they're in their teens and older. So
Yeah.
it's like they just doted over us because we were like these little kids.
Hmm.
And on the weekends, my mom would take us to the village to see our grandparents, and they would dote over us too. We would just run the streets, dirt roads, and I remember being on the tractor in the fields with my grandfather because they're farmers. And I remember my naniji making butter and on the roti on the mud stove. I remember the village life, right? They would force you to eat because Indians love to force feed, but they would also give you tons of treats because it's like your grandparents want to give you tons of treats. And it was a great mix of growing up like that with
Yeah.
so much community, so much love. And I think it was like quite polarizing, to be honest. Like looking back, I'm like, wow, like I had a really solid foundation. I
Mm.
grew up I was wanted by my mom. I was loved on immensely and taken care of by the whole village. And my father would send up some money, and we were able to go to a private Anglican school. So we had the foundation of a good education system starting.
Hmm.
And so I remember India at that age being wonderful. Just celebrating Diwali, Holi, all of the festivals, and knowing who I was then,
Yeah.
knowing where I came from. I was rooted and balanced and grounded.
Yeah, it sounds warm and wonderful and full of love. And from what I understand, when you arrived in Canada, things changed for you around that time. So you were brought to Canada at the age of 8, right, by your father,
I was
and
just about to turn 8. I it
you were
was a
just
month. Yeah, I was a month away from. I was 7, turning 8 the next month.
right. What did you understand about what was happening in that moment, or what did you not understand about it?
I think it would be more accurate to say what I didn't understand. I had no idea what was happening. There was never conversations leading up to it that my father was coming to India, and that he was going to be taking us and bringing us to Canada. This was not anything that I recall was even in my vicinity of thoughts or ever recall talking about. So it happened very quickly. He came when I was 7 from Canada to India and told my mom, "Listen, I'm going to take the kids and I'll bring you later." From this is all kind of stories that I've been told.
Right.
And he, spent a few weeks in India to get to know us because remember, I'd never met him. He left when I was 6 months old, so I only saw pictures and I was told to write letters, but I don't recall ever having him as my father figure. I had other father figures, but so he was an intense human, intense man, right? He's been westernized and he's not wearing a turban. He's got short hair, Western clothes. So he brings us to Canada, but he doesn't bring our mother.
Right.
So essentially, I'm with a stranger in a new country, new language, and he also didn't tell anybody that he'd gotten remarried in Canada.
Wow. That
So
that must have been a lot to even like understand as a kid.
there was I mean, I don't think that, really, let's be honest, that doesn't happen too often in the Indian culture that I'm aware of.
You're right. Actually, you telling me this right now is the first I can even think of. Like, you usually see such things in movies, but you don't quite hear of it in real life.
And I think that's exactly what I've felt like my life has been, a movie. Maybe it will be one day, but I script it. It really does. I always feel that it is a bit of a movie because from what I saw in India and what I saw when I got to Canada of other Indian families, which was very limited because once we got to Canada, my father completely removed us. We lived in Burlington, a like suburban white neighborhood. He married my stepmom. She was Guyanese, which is Indian roots, but totally different culture. West
Mm.
Indian, it's wonderful and everything, but it's totally different than she didn't speak Punjabi. Everything was different, and she had another child, so I had another half sibling
Wow.
who was a
Okay.
newborn. So here I land in the middle of winter, November, never seen winter, in a new country, new father, now a new mother figure, new brother, new language, new weather, everything. So when I kind of tap back into myself as that 7-year old girl, I was in shock. I
Hmm.
felt lost. I felt like someone pulled the rug out of my life that was very secure, grounded. And I felt like visually, I feel like I was in the dark.
Hmm.
I was in dark and I can't see anything, any direction I don't see. So it was very jarring. It was probably one of the first big traumatizing things that happened to me that I can recall.
But I cannot imagine how it must have felt like because there's just so much that happened to you in a short span of time. And I'm curious about two things. You somewhat alluded to the fact that like you were almost 8. And so I want to know what was that like? Did you celebrate your 8th birthday when you were in Canada? And like, what did that feel like?
Yeah, it's funny that was our first birthday. I celebrated without my mom, and my stepmom baked a cake, and I see pictures
Hmm.
and I see my brother's birthday, my biological brother who's now passed away, but his birthday's in November, mine's in December. So we celebrated his and mine, then mine, both homemade cake, birthday, just immediate, like me, my dad, my stepmom. That's it. Like there wasn't any at that point. We just arrived. It wasn't a birthday, right? It was a dinner, and it was a very somber feeling from what I remember. It was more of a performance.
Hmm.
I remember this is when I started to learn the art of performing.
See,
The
yeah,
first time I realized, and it's all coming to me now as I'm talking to you, it's because every time you speak something new appears to you.
yeah,
And I realized what is very clear to me, that's when I learned the art of performance because I'm new to a new country. I don't know how I'm supposed to behave at a birthday.
yeah.
That somebody baked me a cake, smile in front of the camera, you do the thing and you cut the cake and you smile, even though inside nothing feels real about this or to say normal.
Yeah, and like, these are strangers to you. You don't
Yeah.
know these people really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're complete strangers.
Yeah. And I know that you aren't in touch with your biological mother now. But, since you were a child and leading up to when you recently connected with her, did you think about her? Did you try to contact her, while you were still sort of figuring out your life in Canada?
Yeah. I recall, I think when we were young, I think maybe 1 to 2 phone calls. I think she tried, somehow got through. We were able to talk. And I remember holding the phone, but not really being there, not knowing what to think now about this woman who's
Hmm.
been my mom, but now I've been told this is my family now. I felt that's when the disassociation started happening. Like I disconnected from myself, who that woman, that girl that was in India who knew who she was, no longer existed. I was like kind of disconnected from my mom in the idea that I'm like, I can't be two people. I can't. I have to be. I'm here, and I have to be this performance now.
So, in all sense and purposes, you kind of weren't allowed to maintain that relationship with her.
No. After that, there was very little communication until my teens. My aunts and uncles tried very hard to kind of go around above and beyond, trying to connect with us, trying to see us. But my dad, really limited that at the time. I do believe sitting here now, I think he was in his own right. He thought he was protecting us. And I can see how. He was a different breed. He was trying to break ancestral patterns and to fit a certain mold
Yeah.
that was put on him, saying, "This is who you have to be, this is what you can be." And he left and said, "No, this is who I'm going, I don't have to be that." And that's taken 46 years to see that. However, going back to answer your question, it was very interesting to kind of have a relationship with my mother. So in my 20s, she had eventually come to Canada with her siblings, brought her, sponsored her. And my brother, long story short, went and lived with her.
Right.
And she had also wanted me to live with her. And at the time, my father was still alive. And I said, no, I don't feel comfortable. I'm going to stay with my dad. He needs me. It's was self-preservation from looking like where I'm now. It was, I could not handle another drastic change. It's like the elephant in the room. It's like the one it's you're more comfortable with, even if it's traumatic and abusive. It's safer to stay with the known than the unknown.
Right. Yeah.
And so as a teen, I was like, I don't know, are you guys going to arrange my marriage? Like, are you gonna like in my head I had built up this story now, like, oh, if I go over there, they're gonna have send me to India, arrange my marriage. I don't want that. Like I know a different life in Canada.
Yeah. And like, did you ever talk to your mom about that when it came to moving in with her and you had this fear of marriage? Did that come up in the conversation, or it was something that you listened to your gut and you were like, this is just not right for me right now?
I listened to my gut. I said no. I still
Mhm.
had the refuge, like to go back to my dad's because he passed away when I was 15.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm
so
sorry to hear
after,
that.
thank you. After he passed, I still chose not to go to live with my mom and I went and lived with another family, a
Mm,
Caucasian white family that I knew because it still felt safer to my nervous system, to what I knew. And my gut still told me that's not the life for you. This may be harder and alone and off the beaten path, and you're going to be the black sheep. But going over there, there's a cultural border that you are not going to be able to crack through. Like, I can't penetrate that membrane of the Indian culture of what is expected of a daughter, how my behavior, how I need to look, how my life is going to come out, what I need to study in school, who I need to work, who I'm going to marry. It's kind of laid out for you. It's changing. I see lots of changes happening and for the better, I think. And I love it, but I'm the first generation to break that.
no, no,
I say I'm first. My father broke it, but like
right.
as in to succeed, and consciously without doing like hugely legal things, and you know what I mean. Like
Yeah, no, I get it. And the thing that you mentioned about that, you knowing that you're the black sheep, I think in our culture, especially as daughters, making that choice, like not be with your family. that decision almost seems impossible. And you did it and you carried through outside of this. You continued on to build a very successful career for the next 20 years as an executive assistant and project manager. I want to understand what was going on underneath that. Was there a part that felt like you had to prove something to someone, or were you trying to build sort of like a shield for yourself?
All of that's true. All of that, my life, which has served me very well, was built on smoke and mirrors. It was
Mhm.
all for approval. It was all to prove, and it was my ego saying, I'll show you. When I left after my father died, I also had to go with the clothes on my back with nothing. I
Yeah,
had nothing. And I had to get a job at 17 and put myself through school. I went through the party phase where I didn't know, you know, things were coming up, but I was suppressing them with partying. And maybe I should have been studying,
yeah,
failing my courses and dropping out of college and then going to work and building myself essentially from bottom receptionist, like mailroom clerk to accounting to all just I worked my way up. Some people do it through education. I am that person that has built my life on experience. But that part of my corporate career was solely built on proving myself, and that showed when I burnt out. It's
yeah,
going to happen because you're going to hit that ceiling and you're suffocating and you don't know. You're like, but I wanted this, right? Right?
right.
I started to ask myself the question, did I really want this?
Yeah. Oh, what was driving me so far?
It was all of the conditioning of my culture. When I was 7, 8 years old, I remember my dad asking, what are you going to be when you grow up? What car are you going to drive? He was successful. He had his own business. He was living the life in Burlington and having fancy cars. And so I saw that and I
Mhm.
wanted his approval so bad that I'm like, Lamborghini, and I'm going to be a lawyer. I don't want to be a lawyer. I'm not a
Yeah,
lawyer. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just wasn't for me. I was just really good at performing and I showed for it in my corporate career. I worked for a very high level CEO and right along his right hand, and that's all performance.
yeah. And eventually, like you said, it did catch up to you. It all sort of came crashing down when you couldn't take it anymore and you checked yourself into a psych ward. Take me there. What was happening that brought you to the point where you took that step?
Yeah. I'm just gonna take a step back and just clarify a couple things leading up to that. So I all within a couple years I left the corporate career because I
Hmm.
couldn't get pregnant. I did in vitro to have my daughter, and I was like, that's it. Great. This is what I wanted. A great husband now. I'm still the black sheep because I'm not married. In Indian, I married a Caucasian white man. And I'm thinking my answered prayer was my daughter. But little did I know, having a child is the gift of a lifetime, but it's the catalyst for you to face yourself. All the things that you never wanted to look at in your life, all
Yeah,
the pain that you can kind of filed away, you no longer can file away because this little human is going to, one way, shape, or form, bring it out. So within that 2 years, I went from having a baby, emergency C section, to right really being euphoric about becoming a mom, and then very quickly being like, holy crap, like, how do I do this alone? I don't have that support system to show me what a mom looks like.
right.
But I had this illusion that I was going to be an amazing mom, and I am a great mom. It wasn't an illusion, but a fantasy of what
And
that looks like.
yeah, and I imagine, given what you went through, you also wanted to do better and do
Yes,
differently for your daughter.
right. And it's hard to do that when you haven't healed your wounds.
Yeah.
So this beautiful little human came into my life, and at the same time my body decided that I'm in menopause at the age of 38. So
Wow.
I'm postpartum, full-blown menopause. Just right before the pandemic hit, all of this was bubbling up and nobody was giving me the answers that I wanted. I was in naturopaths, doctors. I was going to every avenue, and the one day I'm sitting in my friend's doing my hair and I'm like, I just don't want to even live anymore. I can't do this anymore. And she's like, Reet, this is not okay. Call your doctor right now. Call my doctor. Doctor's on vacation for 2 months, gone away. She's like, we're not accepting that. You're going to the hospital right now. And I was like, you're right. I drove myself to the hospital. I called my husband on the way and said, you need to pick up our daughter from daycare because I'm going to go check myself in. So I pulled up into Burlington Joseph Brand Hospital and I told them, I said, I need to get an evaluation, check me in. And they didn't officially check me in. They put me into a room. A psychologist came at the end of his shift. He asked me a few questions and gave me an antipsychotic and sent me on my way. That's it.
When you came back home that day, how did that feel? What was that conversation like with your husband?
First of all, that antipsychotic totally messed me up, but I had a safe home to go to. My husband picked me up and he had our daughter, and I had the support system in place for rest. And the choice I made
Mhm.
earlier when I didn't follow the path to go live with my mom, to go marry the people that, and I knew it was paying off now. I had that foundation now to know that I was worthy of somebody to love and care for me.
Right. There was so much going on in your own life, and then you have this new person to take care of. It will take its toll on you, it will take its toll on anybody. But you did something that a lot of times, especially South Asian women or in our culture, we don't do, because talking about your mental health or even voicing that you want help comes with a lot of shame.
Mhm.
I am curious if that had a part to play at all, or if that showed up for you in that moment when you were taking that step for yourself.
I think it does. In all honesty, there's that shame goes deep. It's
Mhm.
it's in the it's in our culture, but it's in general in the media, society as a whole, even in the Western world. We're only coming out of it within the last decade, I feel like.
That's true. Yeah.
Prior, you as women were just going through menopause. We were just labeled crazy and lock them up and send them on Valium, and now to come and actually go, I'm going to acknowledge that it was a bold move for me to walk into a hospital and ask to be checked in, because every spidey sense and fear in me was like a hyper alert, because I could say they're going to take my baby away from me, I'm unfit, everything is going through my mind. But you know what, the power in me stood my ground and said, there is another way. I don't need to stay this way. This is not right. Something is going on, and I will go find answers. And I'm that person. I will find my own answers.
Yeah.
I that that day didn't work out how I planned, right? But it never does. But what happened is it sent me on a journey so deep into myself that now, that was probably going on, I'd say 7 years, close to 8 years ago.
Hmm.
And I have turned everything upside down 3 or 4 times in my life since then. And what I mean by that is I have sold everything. I've sold the life that they sold me, the checklist life. I've sold the house, the cars, the material goods, sold it all and started fresh several times, ripped it all apart, pissed off family members, and just left the province, the country, gone around the world multiple times, lived everywhere, and come to myself. What I've found is it's not a race, it's a lifelong journey. I used to think, one more program, one more thing, I'm good, I got this. But now I think I had to uncondition myself that the answer was outside of me.
Yes, it usually lives inside you.
This is where the problem was. There was never a problem, but this is where the issue started, and
Yeah.
this is where the issue is going to come to resolve itself. Me.
Yeah. So you sold everything and you traveled for a while. Uh, in search of that answer, was it through travels that you learned to come back to your inner self and realize that it lives inside me, and what I need to heal or what I need to listen to is right here? Like,
Yeah.
how did that journey go?
I think there's two components to that. And honestly, there's a level of running,
Hmm.
running away a little bit.
Yeah.
But then when I look at it, I was like, yeah, there was a little bit running to myself, not away from myself. I'm going to rephrase that, because I needed to remove myself from everything I knew.
Mm.
and put myself in another environment so I could actually hear myself think, not what others expected of me. Your parents want this, your in-laws want this, your husband want this, and you got to check, 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 check.
Yeah.
It's really hard to kind of break out of that loop because you're doing the same thing every day. So my like thing in the loop that I threw was I moved from just outside of Toronto, Burlington to Vancouver at
Okay.
the beginning of the pandemic. And that really helped me recognize the people pleasing, perfectionist, control freak of that person that I had become was no longer serving me. I really had to now sit with nobody else to blame. Nope, nobody's around here. There's nobody's asking me to do all of these things.
Right.
And now, one by one, I had to look at it. I hired a coach, and my husband also came along that journey. When you're in a marriage, you both kind of want to grow together, especially long term. This is why I think if you grow apart, it's hard to come back.
Yeah.
Right. So we were growing apart, and I said, listen, I'm doing this. I suggest you do it, but for your own life. You have your own scars, wounds that you need to look at, and I have mine, and we're raising a human. We need to kind of come together on what our value system is as a couple.
Yeah.
And that's what's been really powerful for the last 6 years. That's what helped traveling around the world.
As I understand, your daughter was 4 when you and your husband decided to travel around like 20 plus countries or so over 2 years. I'm really curious, how did your in laws respond to that?
It was something that I've always wanted to do, but my gut feeling was loud. I could
Mhm.
no longer ignore it. It was coming out of COVID. I didn't want to put my daughter in kindergarten. So I said, I'm
Mhm.
going to world school her. I'm feeling this urge to get out there. So I said to my husband, I said, listen, I have an idea. I would love for us to sell or rent our house and go travel for a year.
Yeah.
And that took a little bit of conversation. And he said, let's do it. My in-laws did not respond well to us going around the world. They love their granddaughter. I see their side, and I also see my own life, right? Like they had expectations that I couldn't live up to. That's okay. Like that, I'm not here for that. I have
Yeah.
nothing but love and respect for them, but I'm not here to just live somebody else's life. They didn't understand what our intention was, and our intention is to live our life.
Mhm.
And then that powerful journey to travel around the world gave me the opportunity to reconnect with my birth mom after 25 years. I also found out my brother was murdered.
How did that feel? On one hand, you are doing something that you've been wanting to do for a while. And then on the other hand, you get this really bad news and also an opportunity to reconnect with your mother. How did you reconcile that?
So I had put India right in the middle of the year.
Okay.
6 months to kind of work my nerves up because, mind you, I have not been to India now for 38 years at that time. I'd
Right.
never been back to India since I left at 7.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So
Yes, that would do that to you. Yes.
this was a big thing. I never wanted to go until I had my daughter. I felt this, of course, everything opens up. I'm like, well, I have to show her that that's part of her heritage, and I don't want her to be ashamed of who she is. But then I can't be ashamed of who I am,
Right.
right? So I put India right in the middle of my trip. So it gave me some time to kind of climatize. And then we go to India. Within 2 days, all of this went down. I didn't have any contact with any family member in India. I had hired a driver for a month to take us around. I knew the name of my grandparents' village. I got him to drive us there, and I just trusted my gut. When it told me to stop the car, get out, go to that house, I just didn't know, but I just kept going. I kept facing that uncertainty of what the hell are you doing going to some stranger's house in the middle of a village in India? You have no idea who these people are. But something inside me saying, walk in, go, lean in. And I did. And that one day, my whole life changed. And I just asked, I dropped my grandfather's name, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's still 5 minutes down the road. And my cousin showed up. Within 20 minutes, I know my mom's been looking for me. My brother now was murdered. And it went from, in a way, it was like that 7-year-old girl's life when she was first brought to Canada. Like, it's kind of all black, and you don't know, like, there's joy and pain and change and uncertainty. And what the hell do I even do with all of this? But I'm a mom now. I have a daughter right here and I'm married. And I spent one night in the village, and then I told my family, listen, I still got to keep going, because other people's ideas of your life are still going to be other people's ideas, because they thought, okay, stop your trip, fly back to Canada, you're going to reunion with your mom. And I was like, no, that's not how this is going down. I said, I didn't just do the last 5 years of work on myself to dismantle and live up to everybody's expectations again and what they want me to do. I said, okay, thank you so much. I said, I'm so grateful, Mom. I said, we're going to stay in touch with over phone. We're going to give myself some time to process this. I said, I'm going to continue doing this journey with my family, because we're 6 months in and we still have another 6 months to go. And we've invested time, energy, money, and still, it's still my dream to live this through. And I'm going to continue that. And they just were like, you're not going to stop and just go. I was like, no, I'm not going to stop my life, and so that it makes you guys feel more comfortable and happy. I said, I need time to process. It's been 25 years since I've seen you. I'm not a young girl or a teen 20. I said, and I just being able to articulate that showed me my growth and my power, and that I wasn't just living my life for as people pleasing anymore. I was living life authentically on my terms for me. And it's okay to take space, even if it's from your family, especially from your family.
Yeah.
They're the ones, the root triggers. I said, listen, let's talk every week. Okay. Mom, I can barely speak Punjabi to communicate with you. So I had to build that. And this time I had to build it on my terms. I had to build back my relationship. Now it's been almost 4 years with my birth mom. I had to be grieve my brother's death. And I had to almost grieve and celebrate at the same time. Grieve all of what I thought I perceived I had lost with my mom, the life, and all of the cultural things, and celebrate that I also was given this opportunity and gift to create a life that felt real to me, safe for my nervous system, safe for my body to be and live in, and chosen. I chose my family. I created a life that looked like off to everybody else, but just felt so right to me.
Mhm.
And that's why I do show up and share my story. It makes people uncomfortable. Indian woman sharing all of this, and I said, I'm not here to be palatable and make people comfortable. I am here to live my truth and help women rise into their own power and to be who they are. And whatever that life and how different it may look for you, only you know. Only you know who you want to marry or don't want to marry, where you want to live, and where, like, you were very clear on your yeses and nos. Very clear.
Yeah, no, it's powerful to know that. I also want to acknowledge the relationship with your mother. There's a lot in that relationship that was never really your choice and it just happened to you. And so to come back to this place where you're approaching it from a place of, we get a chance, both you and your mother together, to build something that is now your choice, that is powerful. And I think it is equally beautiful that you're sharing the story, to know that somebody else has gone through it and has come out of it. That story needs to be told because you can heal from stories, and stories also help inspire other people. What you have experienced is tremendously challenging and very difficult, but you have pulled yourself through it, and that's admirable.
Thank you, Kriti. And something that you said, that, this happened to me, not by my mom or anything, but, and I'm a life coach. And there was a time I used to think it happened to me, but I am 100%, it happened for me. If that, every event, every situation, every hurdle, every pain, every scar did not go exactly as it did, I could not be the woman I am today without it. I could not sit here, talk to you, and be living my mission and my purpose daily and be the mother that I am, breaking family patterns and doing the work I'm doing and rewriting narratives and rewriting my own legacy,
Yeah. That's
right?
a, yeah, That's a powerful reframing of like something that happened for me. I'm actually going to use that to myself in my own healing journey. So thank you for that.
Like if that's all someone that listens takes away, instead of thinking something's happening to you, it is very powerful in your brain for you to see how it's happening for you, and that's where we really take our power back.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that's where Reignite with Reet was born too.
Yeah, absolutely. It was actually during COVID. I had a fitness training business. I opened in my garage, bunch of moms, and I would reignite with Reet was the fitness business name. And I always said I wanted to start a podcast. I was already coaching women. And then last year, after sitting and talking about it, and I was like, that's it. I'm doing this. And that's where the podcast Reignite with Reet was born. I'm a midlife woman, and I'm here to show every woman out there at any time in your life you can reignite yourself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I needed to hear this too. This was
On schedule.
right on schedule, yeah. This was a beautiful conversation, and I loved getting to know more about that Reet behind the mic that I had seen before, heard before, and just hearing more about your story and what drives you.
Kriti, this was a wonderful conversation.
That was Reet German. She didn't come here with a clean story. She came with the real one. The brother she lost, the mother she had to find, and the life she burned down more than once to build something that actually fit her, and not what society and the culture expected of a good girl. You can find Reet in the links in the show notes, and if this resonated with you or you know someone who needs to hear it, make sure to share the episode and follow the podcast. I am your host, Kriti J, and this is Dirty Brown. Until next time, goodbye.